Stephen Lewis writes, I recently saw SouthPaw and was floored by Jake Gyllenhaal's performance. Rachel McAdams is always amazing as well. I have two questions. One, how on earth does SouthPaw have a Rotten Tomatoes score of 58%? It makes me question checking Rotten Tomatoes scores. My second question is Jake Gyllenhaal becoming the greatest actor of his generation?
Two-part question. First, how does Rotten Tomatoes have it at 58? Because it's not that good of a movie. Now, there's going to be differences of opinion on this table. I went in. Look, Antoine Fuqua is one of my favorite directors. I really look forward to watching, especially after I appreciate The Equalizer more than most people do. I acknowledge that, but I loved what he did with The Equalizer. I'm a big fan of his. I'm a big fan of Jake Gyllenhaal. I was going into that film with really high expectations. Honestly, I thought the film was a bit of a mess. I couldn't get emotionally attached. It's hard to get emotionally attached to a character who's basically unlikable. You're right, though. The performance of Gyllenhaal in it. This is a great example, I think, of great performances can be in subpar movies. I thought the pacing of the film was terrible. There are things that should have taken 5 minutes of screen time that they dragged out in 20 minutes. There are some things that deserve 20 minutes of screen time that they just passed off in a quick passing shot. Wow. It felt disjointed, and it didn't really know what it was trying to do. Then they introduced this kid who's supposed to be like a subplot sort of thing. Kid has one line. I'm supposed to feel emotionally invested in the kid, and then something happens to the kid, and I'm supposed to care. I just don't care as the audience member, But it finished strong. I'll say this for Southpaw: it finished strong. Not just the last 2 minutes either. Like the last 30 minutes of the film are strong, and it kind of made me wish. It kind of highlighted to me how I thought poor the first two acts of the film were, when the last act was actually pretty damn strong. So and I think 58%. Is probably right around where it should be. I think there's going to be a number of people who like the film, and there are people at this table who really like the film, and I think there will be a number of people who don't, and I think that 58% is probably where it ends up being. As far as Jake Gyllenhaal goes, let's not get too far ahead of ourselves, but we are now talking two world-class performances in a row. And despite my misgivings about the film as itself, you're right, Jake Gyllenhaal was terrific in Southpaw. And then you go back to Nightcrawler and look what he did there. And then you think back, well, let's go even further back than that. Let's look at things like Brokeback Mountain and the performance he had there. And could he be the best actor of his generation? I wouldn't say that right now, but he's on his way. I mean, he is phenomenal. Like, forget Prince of Persia. If at this point, any movie that's coming out that's got Jake Gyllenhaal now in the marquee, I'm now instantly interested, because I know even if I don't like the movie, I'm going to be enthralled watching this dude's performance. So that bodes very well for me. And Christian, you were somebody who actually really did like Southpaw. Why do you think some people aren't liking, like myself, don't like it as much? And how do you see, where does Jake Gyllenhaal rank right now?
Well, yeah, I did. I love the movie. Let me ask you a question. Out of a 5 score, what would you rank? What would you give it out of 5?
I would give it a 2.5.
Okay, so that is for people out there who don't know. So that would be a rotten score for John and Rotten Tomatoes. So the way that Rotten Tomatoes works is once you hit that 3 spot, that's when it gets a fresh review. So that means that the majority of the people who didn't like it were under 3. I don't agree with that. I think it at least, opinions are opinions, but I think that it should at least get over a 3, because I thought it is a cliched movie for sure. It is a movie that we've seen the same beats, and I agree that one subplot with the kid, it wasn't developed at all, and just kind of throws out there, and it's just like, don't you care now? And you're like, well, I don't know enough to care about him. But it was the performance of Gyllenhaal and the way that they did handle this story, and I thought the chemistry with him and McAdams was amazing. I was emotionally invested in the relationship with him and the little girl. I was emotionally invested in this guy's journey, because I think you're not supposed to like him, but you're also supposed to realize the struggle of what this guy is going through, and who he was and where he came from. I thought they did a good job of setting up his background as like an orphan and what he had to overcome in order to get there, because it was paralleled off of Eminem's life as well too, and I knew that going into it. But I understand people's gripes with the fact that it's just something we haven't seen. The reason, as far as why do I think a lot of critics didn't enjoy it, I think it's because everyone's holding Gyllenhaal to this standard right now. He just did Nightcrawler, right. End of Watch, Enemy.
Oh, End of Watch.
Enemy is another one. Those are all performances that you went, whoa. And those are all so different of movies, and movies that weren't cliched. So when you see him in a movie, like, it takes you back to the Prince of Persia, because it's just like, oh, Gyllenhaal's doing this kind of movie. And after doing something like Nightcrawler, it's like waiting for his next big thing. And then he does a movie that's just kind of riddled with these. You're like, oh, it maybe lowers your value of the film. And I didn't because, like I said, I'm a boxing fan. I was invested in the character, so that's why I think why I enjoyed it so much. As far as Gyllenhaal, I think that he's absolutely on his way of being one of the best because he is a chameleon. He
Really
I
is.
did not see Jake Gyllenhaal in this role. I saw Billy Hope. I saw Lou in Nightcrawler. That is a hard thing to accomplish when you're as famous as he is.
Right.
There are only a few other people that can do that, and he is one of those guys that every time you watch him, he's This is the guy that was in Bubble Boy. Remember Bubble Boy, and he's one of those guys that knows how to pick the role. So that's my opinion on it, and I'm sticking to it.
Schnepp, where do you think Gyllenhaal is right now?
I think Gyllenhaal is one of our greatest actors at the moment. I have zero interest in seeing Southpaw, and I'll say why. That last trailer that came out, ruined the entire movie for me. And I remember being on the show and saying, I can't believe they just told the entire movie beat by beat in 2.5 minutes. Did I really need to know everything about this film in the trailer? And I lost all interest in the film. And I read a couple of reviews saying that trailer, note for note, ruined the entire movie. It is that movie only condensed. So you're saying you have pacing problems, just watch the trailer again, and you might actually enjoy the film as a 2.5 minute nugget. Because I was like, I have zero interest in seeing it. All these actors who are in the film, I think they're great actors, but I don't have any interest in seeing the film now. So, I mean, that to me is like, and that it's getting really bad reviews makes me...
I don't think it's getting really bad reviews, though. I mean, even 60% is not...
Yeah, I'm just saying that I have like so many other films that are on top of that that I have to see that I missed even from 2 weeks ago, that a new film like this, it doesn't warrant me wanting to see it in the theater.
Right.
I will say this too. I haven't seen Forrest Whitaker this good in a while.
Right.
Forrest Whitaker is also quite strong.
That's where the movie really picked up for me, is when he entered. I liked their relationship, and that's why I thought that Jake Gyllenhaal's character actually became more likable. But
it's because of that character.
Because of that character. Yeah. What I will say though, Schnepp, because I had that concern about the trailer going in, and I did think for the first 20 minutes, I'm like, I had literally seen everything so far in this movie. But then I thought it did something different, and without spoiling anything from the movie, of the development of a certain storyline that wasn't really shown in the trailer. And I thought that the movie for the last like hour and a half wasn't spoiled by the trailer, but that's me.
Right on.